Now, he's still in his first term as a member of parliament, but already he's won 2 awards. First, as most influential MP, and also as favorite MP for the year 2018. These awards were conferred on him by the Ghana Leadership Awards scheme. He's the member of parliament for Ewutu Senya West, and he's had a rather challenging year, which included a car accident that caused him some serious damage. But he's recovering, and he's certainly not sitting still. We caught up with Nenyi George Andah in his home over the festive season. December is always a festive season. In addition to that, it's also the awards season. So people in all walks of life are being honored for the work they've done throughout the year. In the fields of music and movies, and oil and gas, banking, awards are being conferred on many deserving people. But there's one organization that has decided this year, as they always do, to award people in positions of leadership. In this case, leadership in government is the particular category I'm interested in, because I'm in the home of one of the recipients of awards this year, in fact 2 awards. First one is Most Influential MP of the Year, and the other is Favorite MP of the Year. These are awards that he has won in the Ghana Leadership Awards scheme. So I've come to his home to find out how he managed it, especially considering some of the challenges he's had to overcome this year. It's my honor to be in the rather lovely home of the Honorable Member of Parliament for Ewutu Senya West constituency in the Central Region, Mr. Nenyi George Andah. How nice to see you.
Good day, and welcome. Welcome home.
Thank you very much.
This visit is long overdue. And I'd like to say hello to your viewers as well, and compliments of the season.
Thanks very much, and indeed, congratulations.
Thank you very much. I think we should recognize the efforts of the whole team in Ewutu Senya West that have worked hard. I'm just their humble servant, and of course, if His Excellency the President didn't also give us the opportunity to serve in his government, some of the things that we are being recognized for wouldn't have come to bear. And of course, if the leadership of Parliament didn't also support us and direct us and coach us and mentor us, wouldn't be where we are. So I think that this award is actually celebrating the people of Ewutu Senya West, celebrating the people of Ghana, it's celebrating the majority in Parliament, it's celebrating my family, it's celebrating my friends and the media, all of you who have supported to get us this far.
Now, this is to recognize your influence and popularity, I guess, which is quite a feat considering the fact that in addition to being an MP, you're also a Deputy Minister for Communication. How do you reckon you pulled this off?
Well, I think it's the people of Ghana that decided who should receive this award. And I'm not too sure that as an individual, I did anything that was really out of the ordinary, but the small things that we do every day. I mean, communicating as far as the agenda of government is concerned, making sure that you're supporting your sector minister to drive the policy of government, making sure that you can try and influence for development projects within the constituency, providing leadership, believing in the youth. I think that these are some of the small things, and of course we couldn't have done that without the support of the media. I mean, the fact that you even decide to come and interview me on something like this, it's also one of the key things that drive or creates awareness for some of the little things that we're doing. And I think for me, the biggest bit about this whole thing, it shows that when you work under His Excellency the President, the sky is not the limit. I mean, he he picks a great team. He drives the team. He has a great vision. And for us, we just serve in his administration. And the people of Ewutu West also, they decided to select me as their member of parliament to represent them in parliament. And I believe that so far it's been fairly good. There's still a lot of work that we need to do, but ultimately we say we thank God. It's not by our might. And it's the people of Ewutu West, the people of Ghana, family, friends, those that have coached us, mentored us. I mean, my political godfather, Uncle Kamla Battels, Mr. Tobo Mensah, Mrs. Nokodia, Mr. Gedilai, Mr. Frank Damale, those that have mentored me and coached me and still call me every now and then to give me advice and to direct me. Of course, my functional boss, Honorable Esther Wuse Kufu, fantastic boss, and I think she gives you the freedom to succeed. And these are some of the things that have helped us to gain this recognition. On the lighter note, I mean, if the people in your constituency are saying that, or they realize that you have become the most influential MP, then there's very little reason for you not to be able to do what they want.
That's true. That's true. Standards are certainly being raised.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, I mean, it must be more of a challenge being an effective member of parliament when you have the massive burden of executive duties as well. Talk to me about how these two roles perhaps affect each other, and how being a deputy minister affects your work as an MP.
In terms of how I allocate my time?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I remember when we had our induction in Parliament, the leadership came and they spoke to us, and for those of us that at that time had been nominated to serve in the executive position, I remember, I mean, all the leaders kept on saying that you should balance your time, you should manage your time, and then you should do parliamentary work in the mornings up to about 2 o'clock when normally Parliament closes, and then in the afternoon you go to the ministry. So what I normally do is I go to the ministry first thing in the morning. Fortunately or unfortunately, I didn't have an office in Parliament in the beginning, so I had to work from the ministry. So I was there in the ministry most of the time. And my ministry is quite close to Parliament as well, so it could take me just like 5 minutes to get to Parliament when the speaker was getting ready. So go there, contribute, participate in parliamentary activity, then go back to the ministry. Fortunately for us at the ministry, both the sector minister and my other colleague are all, and myself are all members of Parliament. So I think that we understand each other, and we have a great way of working. And as far as doing the constituency work, I normally do that over the weekend. So I do Monday to Friday, call Parliament, Ministry of Communications, and over the weekend go into the constituency and work. And I have a great team. I have a great secretariat at the ministry. I have a great secretariat at the constituency level. A group of young guys and ladies, and of course you have the constituency team as well that do support. So it hasn't been easy. It's been quite a bit of a challenge, especially when you have to go into the constituency and go through the traffic at Budumburam and come back from the constituency to another program, and you have to go through that traffic. Something that we need to address. But I think that it's been good. The coaching, the direction that we got at the beginning helped us plan and manage our time much better.
In your mind, which is the priority? I mean, if you had two things to do, one as a minister, one as an MP, and you had to do them, you had limited time to do, you can only do one. which do you want to say your first duty?
Well, I think that's quite a trick question. I mean, it will be difficult to answer, but the issue is that without being in Parliament, wouldn't have been in power. And without being in power, wouldn't have gotten the executive role. So it's difficult to put which of them is more of a priority. But of course, I mean, if we didn't win the election through the parliamentary process, then we wouldn't have had the opportunity to be in the executive. So I think from that point of view, we should also always make sure that we do not we do not downplay the role of Parliament and how that impacts on the overall picture or the overall situation of governance. Of course, I mean, playing the executive role is about driving the policy of His Excellency the President and the party. So that is also equally important. That's why you have to strike the balance.
Are you on any committees in Parliament?
I serve on the House Committee, right. And I also serve on the Agric, Food and Fisheries Committee as well.
Now, there's been a lot of talk about how, even though the Constitution prescribes it, the President has to have a certain percentage of his appointees come from Parliament, the ministerial appointees come from Parliament, that it creates an unavoidable conflict of interest, because the institutions that you're in, the ministries and the institutions under that ministry, are all answerable to Parliament, of which you're a member. So you're checking yourself or checking your own work in a certain sense. Do you find that conflict coming to bear in practical terms?
Well, I'm sure that you probably have had the opportunity of attending some of the Parliamentary Select Committee sessions. And for example, if the Parliamentary Select Committee on Communications requests for the Ministry of Communications or any of the agencies under the Ministry of Communications to come and answer certain questions, it's not child's play. It's a serious matter. So I don't think that there's any compromise that is taking or is considered just because you're a member of Parliament. I mean, the same way as if you're a member of Parliament and you supervise the work of another sector ministry, you put out your best, or you put up your best as well as delivering on the parliamentary work is concerned. And it would be extremely embarrassing if you're a member of Parliament and you meet your colleagues and they are asking you questions and they expect certain answers from you, and you are in a position not to provide those answers. And so nobody wants to be in that kind of situation. So I think that it's a check and balance. I mean, it's a constitutional provision. I don't see how that compromises the work of Parliament. I don't see how that also compromises the work of the executive. It's making sure that there's a check on each other.
Now, I have a particularly personal reason for being quite glad to see you today, because a few months ago you were in a rather serious car accident. You had to be airlifted, but I'm so glad to see how well you're doing following that incident. I doubt I've heard you speak of it. Is it okay if I ask you what happened? Are you okay talking about it?
Well, I mean, I think the most important thing is that God has been merciful. Myself and the three members of my team, my driver, Atta, my bodyguard, Bright, and my deputy constituency organizer, who's actually sitting down there, were in the car. God was merciful to us. The doctors at the 37 Military Hospital did an awesome job. And the prayers that we received from well-meaning Ghanaians, all those that supported, all those that were there, those that came to visit, people from the constituency, the people from the executive, Parliament, the archbishops, the priests, the pastors, I mean, my family. I think that actually fast-tracked the healing process, and thanks to God, I'm much better now. I am working from home. I go to the office a few hours in the day when I'm required. I participate in meetings if I'm required, and I think that by the middle of next month I should be fully functional and contributing my quota. It was an unfortunate situation getting into the constituency. to do constituency work, and a tipper truck having had an accident with a tipper truck driver, a head-on collision, and I suffered a broken thigh bone, but like I said, I think the doctors did a fairly good job. I mean, the Minister of Defense, the Minister of Information, the executive, all played a role. The Vice President, the President, everybody played a role to make sure that I was okay.
That's great. Do you remember the moments before it happened?
Well, I was actually, I think I was sending a WhatsApp message, and I had my driver scream Jesus, and that was what I remember. The next thing, I was in the back of Abusokai Macho, and the sun was shining directly on my feet, and I just opened my eyes, on my face, and I opened my eyes, and I realized that my head was on the thigh of my bodyguard, and he was holding my hand. So I think I collapsed at the time. I passed at the time of the accident, and apparently, from listening to what happened, it was a dirt road. We were using the bypass to get into the constituency, and there was this tipper truck driver that was taking a bend coming down the slope, and he apparently lost control of the car. So he was in our lane. He was coming in our lane. So our driver moved to his lane, and the tipper truck driver moved back into his original lane. Our driver moved back into our lane, and the tipper truck driver came back, and so he stopped. The driver stopped the car, and I think that was the time that he screamed Jesus, and there was a head-on collision. But I mean, thanks to God, there were no fatalities. I mean, everybody is alive. The driver is fine. Bodyguard is fine. Kojope is fine. I'm fine, and we give thanks.
Were yours the worst injuries?
I think so. Yes, because the rest of them were just put under observation for. I think the driver and the bodyguard were 2 days. Kojo was for 3-4 days, and I was there for 2.5 weeks. Yeah. But on a lighter note, a lot of people keep on saying that was probably God's message of telling me to rest.
Well, it appears you haven't received the message because you're still working.
But I've rested. I've rested. It's much more relaxing now, and the recovery has been good. Doing the physiotherapy every day, moved from having to move around in a wheelchair to moving around in the Zimmer frame. I'm now graduated to using the elbow crutches, and I think my physiotherapist keeps on saying that if we progress as much as we're doing at the rate at which we are going, then by the middle of next month I should be able to use just the left elbow crutch, and hopefully a month after that I should be able to walk without any assistance.
And I mean, once again, I'm so glad that you've made such a great recovery. We're happy that the healthcare system was quick and responsive to get you where you needed to be. But I'm sure you must have picked up some of the stories that went out about the fact that you were airlifted, and how some people saw it as some manner of favoritism being offered to you simply because of your position, and that when other people get car accidents, they don't get the value or the benefit of the same sort of service. I wonder how you felt about it.
Well, it was a medical decision to have me airlifted. There was a discussion between the doctors at the St. Gregory Hospital, some members of the executive, the doctors at the 37 Hospital. Indeed, there was an ambulance that had been arranged, and I think the extent of degradation that was taking place at that time, it was in the best interest or it was the most sensible thing to do to get me quickly to to 37, and obviously we didn't have to go outside the country, which some people were rumoring that I'd been taken out of the country for treatment. I was treated at the 37 military hospital together with my driver, my bodyguard, and my deputy constituency organizer. You would always have a situation where people would pass comments. I'm sure that in the unfortunate situation, if I had died, people would have said, why wasn't I airlifted? So I think that the medical team and then the executive made an informed decision, and that worked out to be right. Indeed, even when I was going through the surgery, I remember the surgeons were saying that this thing should take like an hour. But it took almost 6 hours, and it was obviously, apparently because of the way that I was handled after the accident. So the bone had gotten locked up in some muscles, and so where they normally would have just had to do like a pinhole and insert the metal and do the screws, and then they actually had to cut through the muscle. So yes, there's a need for us to have proper medical care. There was no need for me to be transported to the hospital in Anabusa Kaimachu, but you don't hear that side of the story. You hear the people that are talking about me being airlifted, but the fact that I was lying by the roadside and then had to be taken to the hospital to St. Gregory in Anabusa Kaimachu. I mean, I also have a family, and I was there doing constituency work. I wasn't going there for fun. So, I mean, yes, it's fair criticism, but ultimately we all need to work together to improve the level of health care, so that the right level of care can be given to every Ghanaian, irrespective of whatever position that you occupy. Anything that we can do to save lives, we should do.
I've been through it yourself. Did you come up with any sort of ideas and suggestions, ways in which we can improve any aspect of our healthcare delivery system?
Well, I mean, the first thing is to get as many ambulances out there as possible. I mean, because I mean, being conveyed in the bucket of Anabusa Kaimachu, it's a problem. I mean, you know, outside or in some developed countries, when these accidents happen, there are people that are trained on how to move the victims from the car, so that you don't further aggravate the situation that they are in. And I think that we need to do a lot of education in terms of road safety. I think for me, one of the biggest things that has dawned on me is advocacy for passing the Disability Act, because there are certain places that in the period where I've had this challenge, it's very difficult for you to access. I mean, and I put myself into the shoes of those that have to live the situation every day, and I ask myself, how are they able to cope? And there's anything that I can do together with my colleagues of Parliament to pass that act as quickly as possible, to make sure that we can provide the right level of care, the right level of rights to people that are physically challenged, to make their life much better. Then it's one of my priorities going forward.
Have you been on phone to the health minister or your colleagues in Parliament?
Well, I mean,
happen quicker?
We've had certain discussions, but you know, there's a process that these things need to go to. We need to find out where we are, what are the issues with the current bill, and then what needs to be done to fast track it. Yeah. I mean, I'm not the ultimate decision maker, but on a personal level, this is one of the things that I'm keen to make sure that we address.
You have a family. Tell me about how this incident has affected you and your family.
Well, I think it's drawn us closer. My immediate family, my wider family, this was a situation that brought us together. I mean, the family was there for me 24/7. Friends were there for me 24/7. It was something that happened that I think we affirmed faith in God, got me to slow down a bit. But I think God has been merciful and God continues to be merciful. I thank God for family, I thank God for friends. I thank God for giving me another opportunity to live. And we are back. We are back to serve country, to the greater glory of his name. And we going forward, we should also be much more sensitive to driving on the road safety. I mean, it could happen to anyone. I heard that just the day after there was an accident somewhere within the same area, and there were some serious fatalities. There were some casualties and some fatalities. So when it's not you, or when it's not directly close to you, you sort of hear, but you sometimes don't really connect to it. But I guess it's been quite sensitive for the family, quite sensitive for myself, and we need to do what we need to do to make life better for all Ghanaians.
Well, let's talk a bit more about work and how you've been easing back into it since you started to recover. And quite a few things have happened in your ministry recently. We saw the announcement of the awarding of the most recent...
the 3G spectrum.
Indeed.
The 4G spectrum.
Yes. Tell us a bit about that. I'm sure you contributed.
Well, I mean, it was an auction. There were two blocks of spectrum that were available. The National Communication Authority, working together with the Ministry of Communications, put up that announcement for the auction, and it went through the process. And I believe that Vodafone won the bid, and that has been announced. So going through the process to make sure that they can utilize the spectrum and have the license awarded to them, and to drive a better experience for their customers, and obviously derive the maximum commercial benefit out of it.
Are they working towards a timeline for customers to start enjoying it? Are they working with the ministry towards it?
Well, they'll work with the NCA, but I mean, of course, it's the interest of the mobile network operator to deliver the right products and services. I mean, that this license gives them the opportunity to. So I don't envision a situation where there are going to be any undue delays. I mean, the world is moving towards data. I mean, voice, in my humble opinion, I think core voice is probably going to become like a value-added service in the next 2-3 years. The core is going to be data. Everything is going to be about data. And once the mobile network operators have the right capacity and there's the right infrastructure in the ground that government is supporting to deliver, then we should be seeing happy days going forward.
Of course, I'm not an industry insider as well, bound to your superior knowledge on this, but MTN has had spectrum for over a year now, 4G. Is there a mechanism for the NCA to monitor how effectively spectrum is being used? Is that even sort of within the remit of the...
Well, I mean, there are conditions for the allocation of the license, and there are certain parameters for the quality of service that is delivered. And I'm sure that recently you may have heard that the NCA announced certain sanctions for certain infractions as far as the quality of service is concerned. So it applies to 2G, 3G, I mean, and 4G. Yeah.
Okay. But as far as you're aware, the NCA and the ministry are happy with MTN's management?
Well, I'm not going to narrow it down to MTN, but the fact that, well, I mean, you're looking at the total experience, and the fact that the NCA has announced certain sanctions for infractions, then clearly we cannot say that we are happy. I mean, if the the standards that we expect to be delivered are not being met, then we should make sure that we work together with the mobile network operators and the regulator to provide a conducive environment so that ultimately the customers or the users, derive the maximum benefit, and they shouldn't be inconvenienced in a situation like this.
Have the sanctioned telcos responded by improving service?
Well, I think they had 30 days to respond. I'm aware that there have been a number of meetings to look at what the way forward is, but I think we are heading in the right direction. The responses that we are getting from the telcos or from the mobile network operators, I believe, it's not antagonistic. We are moving in the right direction, and I believe that they do appreciate that there have been these infractions as far as the provisions of their license is concerned, specific to quality of service, and together with the mobile network operators, the regulator will continue to put in place measures to address it.
Okay. Now, everywhere you go at this time of the year, media houses are reviewing the year, talking about the highs and lows. I guess we could do a little bit of that very quickly in your sector.
Well, it depends on what you want to talk about. Yes, you normally would expect that would be done by the sector minister, but we had our Meet the Press series, I think, just about 2 weeks ago, and so with it, we put out everything out there, so it should already be out there.
Which is fine. You put your side of it out. You generally tended to speak with the media a lot on most of the issues that came up. Your minister did as well, but I think most of the time you were sort of the first to respond on issues. So, for example, the Star Times deal, there were questions about it. You came out and were fielding most of those questions. How has that matter settled from the perspective of the ministry? All the questions that were being raised.
When you make reference to the Star Times deal, I'm not too sure exactly what you mean, and we've tried to explain this thing so many times.
So don't get me wrong, I'm asking for an explanation again.
No, but you need to understand so that it can inform the line of questioning. There's the 300 community satellite TV project. Okay, if that's what you're referring to as the Star Times deal, then that project is progressing well. I think as of last week it was 94% complete. So 94 communities had equipment, and they were viewing direct-to-home transmission from Star Times, enjoying the free 6 months package for the households, and community viewing centers had started experiencing the lifetime free viewing experience. The confusion there that existed was because some people assumed wrongly that the 300 community satellite TV project was something that was going to lead to the management of the digital terrestrial television platform, and they are two separate things. Yeah. Okay, and what we kept on saying was that we had done an audit of the digital terrestrial television platform, and we were working with KNET. KNET had done an awesome job. 42 sites across the country. We were connecting these sites to the national grid. 40 channels available. There was a demand for more of these channels. All these 40 channels were standard definition. There was a demand for some high definition channels, or a demand for some regional channels. And so the audit that we did clearly shows that there was a need for the network to be enhanced. If the network was going to be enhanced, then we could look at how the source of funding was going to come from and who was going to do that execution. So that was a totally separate thing. Yes. from the 300 community satellite TV project. And I think that some of media houses and some of the civil society organizations got it all mixed up. But subsequently...
We spoke to you, so we got it right. You said you gave us the right information.
We gave you the right information, yes.
What I wanted to ask was about the feedback you got, once the matter became an issue of this national discussion. So, for example, regarding the 300 community project, there was some feedback about the fact that they were being allowed to bring in their equipment free.
Well, they weren't allowed to bring in their equipment free.
Without paying
No, there was a Chinese government grant, okay? The value of the grant was $3 million. And the Ghana component of this grant was to give a tax waiver on the duty that was going to be applicable on the specific equipment that were going to be used for the free transmission. So if they were setting up a transmission center or a TV, a projection for communal viewing, and that was going to be free perpetually, the agreement was that the government of Ghana waive off this bit. They were putting decoders in 20 households in each of these 300 communities. So for these free decoders that were going to be put out there was a waiver on the duty of that component. Okay, but the rest of the infrastructure that was being done, there was no duty waiver on that. And this thing went through Parliament, and it got passed through Parliament. So again, there was a total misunderstanding of that arrangement that had gone through the proper procedure. So I think that sometimes certain individuals and certain organizations we're not taking their time to really understand issues, and we're going out to make a lot of noise. And once we clarify the issue, those that were being fair to themselves and those that wanted to understand what the issues were, the truth of the matter, I mean, they did a 360 and then they came back to the table.
So to clarify, the tax waivers were sort of Ghana's end of the deal on a $3 million
yes.
Grant?
Yes.
So what is the value of the tax waiver?
The tax waiver was 3 million Ghana cedis.
Right. So they gave us a grant of $3 million. We gave them a tax waiver of $3 million.
We didn't give them a tax waiver. We waived the duty that Ghana.
Yes.
I mean, it's not.
So we gave them a tax waiver.
Oh, no. If you say you gave them a tax waiver, it's as if that amount of money was going to go to them. Okay, that amount of money was duty that Ghana government was going to collect. So Ghana government waived the duty on the specific components of the equipment that were going to be used for the free transmission. So
tell us about the future in 2019. What's the ministry got planned? What have you got up your sleeve for?
Well, I think the minister was clear when we met the press on what the vision of the ministry is. Clearly making sure that we provide the right environment to drive the communication infrastructure of the country. We already have significant infrastructure as far as telecommunications is concerned in the country, and for the vision of His Excellency the President for Ghana to become the ICT hub of the sub-region, we need to make sure that we focus on driving affordability, driving access for data. And so in a nutshell, I mean, in the broad sense, that's what we're looking at. Now, when it comes to specific agencies, I mean, there are specific goals for each of these agencies. So the National Cybersecurity Secretariat has its goal. I mean, there was a lot of activity to try and sanitize the cyberspace of Ghana to make sure that we can address some of these issues of cyber fraud, and to provide the right conducive environment for businesses to operate and to protect children that are being exposed to some of these challenges. If you look at the Ghana Meteorological Services, it's making sure that we can address the gaps in the Act and making sure that we can retool them, we can provide the right resources for them. If you look at Ghana Post, making sure that we can drive Ghana Post, financial inclusion, Ghana Post, use technology to get Ghana Post to be much more competitive, looking at government businesses. So I mean, I could go on and on, but 2019 is going to be a year of action. It's going to be a year of significant injection of ideas and execution going forward.
Now we have just a couple of minutes to wrap up, but I won't forgive myself if I don't ask about this. There was a letter written from your office to Bank of Ghana, which some commented on as being rather snide and rude, in response to Bank of Ghana's pointing out that interoperability was something that fell under the project they were doing, because they realized that it was part of what the Kelly GBG contract was aiming to cover. So
when you say that, you mean the common monitoring platform?
That's right. Yeah. So they wrote this letter to your ministry to inform you of it, and there was this rather rude response to them. What occasioned that, and what's been?
Well, I believe that issue has been addressed, and then we should move on. I mean, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Communications, who are supposed to be the implementing agencies as far as the law is concerned, have met with all stakeholders: Ghana Revenue Authority, the National Communications Authority, the Central Bank, and things are moving the way that we wanted to move.
Right. Was anything done about?
Things are moving the way that we wanted to move.
Right. Okay. And I think we'll end with me giving you the opportunity to give a New Year message to Ghanaians, especially those who are praying with you, praying for you, and I'm quite happy to see you looking well.
Well, I'd like to say a big thank you to God Almighty. He continues to be merciful to us. Some people that we started the year with did not end the year with us. As my good friend, the Chairman General, Kwame Sefakai, keeps on saying, divine selection has helped us. And so we give thanks to God Almighty. To the people of the Wuchisinya West, I'll say a big thank you. It's been great working with you. We look forward to delivering even more and making sure that the Wuchisinya West becomes a better place than we came to meet it. To all Ghanaians, 2 years we have worked hard to manage the economy, we worked hard to fix the economy, we worked hard to get out of the economic challenges that we faced. And 2019 we're going to see a lot of projects being executed. We're going to see a lot of things that will feel directly in our pockets, and I guess that the best is yet to come. I'll say a big thank you to His Excellency the President. He's a visionary leader, a leader that knows where he's taking the country to, and for those of us that have had the privilege and opportunity to serve in his government, it's been awesome. Obviously, my last message would be around driving safely on the roads at this time of the year. It's something that we should all take much more seriously. It's not always that because you insist on your rights, it means that you are absolutely safe on the roads. You should give the other users the benefit of the doubt, and as much as possible, avoid any situations that could put you in any form of danger. And always make sure that you drive with your seatbelts on. I wish you all the very, very best compliments of the season. Look forward to 2019 of action. Look forward to 2019 of executional excellence. Look forward to a 2019 of hard work from the NPP. Look forward to a 2019 of honesty from the NPP. Look forward to a 2019 of humility from those of us that have had the opportunity to serve. God bless you all.
Well, you heard it from the Ghana Leadership Awards Most Influential and Favorite MP for 2018. He is the Honourable Member of Parliament for Senior West and the Deputy Minister for Communication. Lady George Andah, thank you so much.
Thanks and Happy New Year, my brother. So hope we'll be seeing more of you in 2019.
I hope so too.